So pot busts in Canada, what's going on with that? I thought it was going to be legal. Well, yeah, but they got to pass the legislation first. If you've been following the news and listening to the way people have been talking, the mayor and stuff, it's been expected for a while that there would be these raids. They broadcast them a good while in advance. The reality is that it's still illegal. Okay. Now, there's a lot of writing floating around. The people running these stores somehow didn't know this or were confused or something. It's a bunch of nonsense, right? It's the line that the Conservative Party is pushing to try to make it seem like it's the government's fault, right? It's just a scandal, right? There's all these pot dispensaries showing up because the government created a confused atmosphere, right? Like people don't know, right? It's only been illegal for their whole lives. you know, it's not complicated, right? But I mean, they want to blame the government rather than point the fingers at these people. Obviously, the store owners knew what they were doing. They made a calculation that the risk of cornering a market was worth the reward of doing it, right? And then they got burned. That's what happens when you gamble, right? It was a calculated decision, and they lost. But it doesn't really justify it, right? What's the best option right now? The government has announced that it is going to table legislation for full legalization, and they are expecting it to get to that point within a year. So what are they doing arresting people? I mean, it is illegal. They broadcast it. They knew what they were doing, but it's still stupid, okay? It's a waste of resources. It's a waste of police resources, legal resources. And this is an angle that few people are thinking about, but are going to have to start thinking about soon once the cases start coming in. But everybody that was arrested today will have an incredibly strong civil argument for compensation, okay? Let's say you've been in jail or you've been in and out of jail or even, let's say you only served 6 months in jail for smoking a joint, right? But you went to jail. You actually served time for smoking a joint. You now have a criminal record. You can't find a job. Your life is fucked, right? These people are going to start coming out of the shadows once it's legalized. They're going to start suing the government for compensation for the damages that the prohibition policy has created in their lives. And they're going to win large settlements, hundreds of thousands of dollars, for the damage that this policy has created. And they deserve it. And the courts will say they deserve it. And the money will flow. Now, I know a lot of people are going to laugh, right? Well, wait for it, right? So not only is it the case that they're wasting public money, public policing resources, and public legal resources in the present, but every person that you arrest for marijuana from this point forward is going to have a civil case for compensation for all the damage that it does in their life. So it's also the case that the state is going to have to produce huge payouts for wasting the time, money, and resources of private citizens and commercial interests. I am very much in favor of full legal legalization, but we have to collectively understand that it's not that easy, okay? That it's going to come with a tremendous cost of reparations going to the victims of prohibition over several decades. And our court system in Canada will interpret the situation that way. We have a very liberal court system, a very activist court system, and I can guarantee you that at every level the court will interpret it that way. That we will have huge reparations. It will go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will uphold it. And so for the first 10 years or so, all that tax revenue is going to go towards legal costs fighting for reparations. So this situation is hard to describe without using the word stupid. Okay? Every person that you arrest is going to cost taxpayers thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's stupid. There's no other way to talk about it, okay? But the cops have a job to do too. They can't just not do their job, right? The feds should decriminalize it immediately. Okay? Let it fly into chaos for a little while. It's not, maybe not ideal, but it's better than the alternative. And then once you've got the laws in place, maybe you should hurry up, you know? Maybe there's not a reason for it to take a fucking year to do it. It's not that complicated, really. And once you have the legal system in place, then you can go after the black market. I'm not really very conservative with money, but if I was, if I was a right winger, if I was a conservative, and the mayor of Toronto is not, he's not the populist right wing idiot that Rob Ford was. He's an old progressive conservative, meaning that he's somewhere to the left of the Democrats in the United States, but that's considered right wing in Canada. He's not like, he's like a business conservative, right? But he is a conservative. And a lot of liberals voted for him the last time around just to get rid of the Fords, right? Because the Fords were just, there wasn't really, in some ways he ran as the liberal, right? There were three candidates. There were the Fords, there was John Tory, and then there was the wife of the former NDP leader. Her name was Olivia Chow. And she was considered the left-wing candidate, right, from the NDP. And then you had the Fords on the right, and then John Tory, who was a conservative, but he ran in the center, which is where the Liberals normally are. So he picked up a lot of Liberal support, but he's definitely to the right of most Liberals, right? Which is why this is a very interesting situation to watch unfold, right? Toronto's a very left, or it's a very liberal place anyways. It's very hard to win in Toronto as a conservative, which is why Ford's win was so surprising to so many people. He managed to mobilize a section of the populace that is normally too busy eating chicken wings to go vote, right? But it's unstable, right? However you want to view John Tory, he's unstable, right? But if I was a conservative, okay, I wouldn't be really that upset about, the idea that there's people smoking, as though people weren't smoking pot anyways, right? I would be far more upset about the financial implications that these raids are going to create than about the social conservative aspect of, stopping people from, smoking a joint. It's not really such a big deal. And most Torontonians are not going to see it as a big deal, right? So what we have here is a classic example of a small number of wealthy people, using their financial influence. But they didn't think it through. In the long run, this is going to hurt those interests more than it helps them, which is the constant refrain with the drug war, right? You think you're doing something that's positive, and then it backfires. It's just over and over again. Hopefully, this is the last, sort of, reflex of irrationality. And once we get over this, it's finished. But if I am going to criticize the feds here, it's that they're taking too long. And instead of leaving the cops in a situation where they have to do things that maybe they don't really even want to do, they should clarify it, decriminalize it, let it run rampant, and then rein it afterwards. It's going to cost them a lot less in the long run.